This is Surviving as a Civilian. I am your host, Scott. With the help of my friend Andrew, we created this podcast to share success stories of combat veterans and how they overcame the challenges of returning back to civilian life. These are actual stories told by actual veterans. Content warning, this podcast talks about war, and some of the stories in this podcast contain graphic events of violence and may contain explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Additionally, these veterans are telling their story of how they recall the events. Some of the details may have changed over time. Welcome to Surviving as a Civilian. I am here with Chris Delfino. Chris, how are you?
Good.
Chris, I'm very excited about this because it's rarely get a chance to interview somebody who I've never met before and never get to talk to. Not that I don't like those guys and girls that I've talked to that I already know, but it's a unique experience when I get to meet somebody for the first time and hear their story. So with that being said, let's just get into it. So how old were you when you joined the military?
I was 26 years old when I joined.
Okay, so what branch of service did you join?
I joined the Army.
Okay, so let's back up. So what did you do after high school but before the military? What are some of the things you did?
I was a mechanic and always messing with cars pretty much my whole time through high school and after high school to pay the bills and get through college and stuff like that.
So how much college did you get through? All of it?
No. Unfortunately not. I have about 36 college credits, and that's part of the reason why I joined the military. College wasn't for me. It was not for me.
So you were a mechanic. You were working full time on cars. Is that what your job was?
Yeah, I was working for a dealership, and I would bounce around trying to make more money and stuff like that. And I finally got sick of working on cars, and I tried to set myself up for a career in something that would be fulfilling, and I could have a retirement and benefits and stuff like that.
So what made you decide to, of all the services, join the Army?
Well, you hear all those horror stories about the Marines and the Air Force and everything, but what happened was I've always wanted to be a fireman. So originally I went to every branch besides the Marines, and I tried to be a firefighter, and they were all like, no. And I had a few buddies of mine that were in the Army, and I asked them a bunch of questions, and they pretty much told me right from the get-go, whatever MOS you pick, that's what you're going to do. Not like the Marines where they pick your job and stuff like that. And both of the two brothers that I talked to that I actually worked for as a mechanic, they had nothing but good things to say about the Army, and that's when I realized I couldn't be a fireman in any of the branches. That's when I said I'm going to go in the Army and see what they have to offer. So.
Okay, so what job did you end up picking when you got in the Army?
Heavy equipment operator. I was an engineer, only because when we rewind to what I was telling you about, I wanted a job with benefits. My last job that I had, I was working at a gravel bank, and it was union, and I was making great money at the time. And my father told me, if you're going to go in the military, pick a job when you come out that you can make money. And my father worked in New York City, and he was telling me about the union operators down there and the money they make and so forth. And I loved operating equipment, so I was like, all right, well, I'll go in the military and I'll operate equipment.
Chris, can I ask you something? What's a gravel bank?
So a gravel bank is a place where they dig up stone and they process it into different size and types of stones and stuff like that. And the plant that I was working at was actually a special plant. It ran around the clock, and it made lightweight stone, and it would actually heat the stone up and make it into lava, and then they would reprocess it again.
That was what state was that in?
That's in New York, in a small town outside of Albany, in Saugerties, New York.
Okay.
The name of the place was called Solite.
So you came in as a 12 November then?
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
And then so you did your basic training, obviously, at Fort Leonard and your AIT, right?
Yep.
What year did you join? I didn't ask that. What year were you?
2010. 2010
okay.
I joined.
Not that long ago, huh?
No. It doesn't seem that long ago.
So what was your basic training and AIT experience like?
So it was a culture shock, and for me, going in at an older age, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. But at first, I thought I made the biggest mistake in my life, and real quick, a little story. I had a wake-up call, and that's what set me straight in basic. Otherwise, I think I was going to be on the downward spiral. When you're in basic training, they give you all these things you have to know and study, and I kind of blew it off one day, and we were, it was like, I think like 3:30 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. They woke us up, and we were getting fit, doing some push-ups and stuff like that, and they were going around asking questions, and I got 2 in a row wrong, and then they just singled me out, and then I hit muscle failure, and they were making fun of me, and they put me in the center of the kill zone, they call it, and they just made me sit there while everybody did push-ups, and that was the culture shock for me, and that's when I'm like, I can't do this again. And from there on out, I just studied hard, and at the end of basic, when you have your I forgot what it's called, the rites of passage after you do that FTX at nighttime.
Yeah, the nick at night.
Yes. Yep. I had 2 of the most senior drill sergeants come up to me and said, you did a complete 360, and you're going to be an amazing soldier and so forth. And that really meant a lot to me, and I just kept everything that they taught me and told me going on through AIT and just carried it through my whole military career.
So once you graduated AIT, what was your first duty station?
Fort Drum, New York, and I did not even pick it, and I didn't even know where it was, and I'm from New York.
So how close is that to your home then?
4 hours away. Was
that a good thing or bad thing?
It was good and bad. Good for a lot of people, as you know, being in the military and stuff like that, get homesick and stuff like that. So it was good. I got to take everybody home with me. Not everybody, but the people that wanted to come on the weekend passes and make them feel like they were part of my family and stuff like that, to not make them homesick. Bad because one of my motives was, when I joined the Army, I wanted to see the world. Instead, I got to see upstate New York and Afghanistan, but it all worked out.
So speaking of which, what was your experience like up at Fort Drum?
Very cold, and it was good. It was good. I heard horror stories about Fort Drum, and people were like, just don't stay in the barracks, do stuff. And I would drag a lot of people out. I had a good friend who was from Texas, and he was miserable, but I always tried to make him do some outdoor stuff. I grew up hunting, I grew up fishing, snowboarding, and stuff like that, so it played its part up there, and I tried to get the other guys into it. Summertime was beautiful. For people that are listening, if they ever get a chance to go up to the Thousand Islands, it's beautiful up there. And up there, the scenery and the weather is just so nice and beautiful up there. So we used to do a lot of hiking, ride our mountain bikes, and just do stuff locally.
So how long was it you were up at Drum and Garrison essentially until you went to Afghanistan?
So I got to Drum in September of 2010, and they told us in formation one day that you guys are going to deploy next year, and starting the beginning of the year, you guys are getting remission to do route clearance. And I was like, huh? I had no idea what that meant. And then they were like, you're going to look for bombs. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. And then that's when they explained, well, you're an engineer, and combat engineers is an engineer, and we need engineers. So I just rolled with it from there on.
So you went from being a heavy equipment operator to basically getting re-flagged to do route clearance?
Yes.
What unit were you in? I forgot to ask that.
I was in the 642nd, 7th Engineer Battalion out of the 20th Brigade out of Bragg.
Okay, gotcha. I think I know some people from that unit. So what kind of training did you get to go prepare yourself from somebody who's never prepared to do route clearance to now you're going to do a no-shit, real live route clearance?
So the military did an awesome job training us up. They started off small, doing like classroom stuff. Then we'd go back down to Leonardwood to do the driving simulators, when they would have everybody drive and see what people were good at, what people were bad at. Then we'd do a lot of field exercises around Drum. That's when they would see, hey, who's going to be a good dismount, who can shoot decent, and so forth. We did a lot of field exercises where we'd go out for a week at a time. I think the longest one we did before we deployed, besides NTC in California. I think it was 3 weeks, and just always when we'd always be training. When they broke us down in the squads, the squad I was in was very, very into training. So I'm sure people and yourself have heard the hurry up and wait in the military. So there was none of that. Every time we had downtime, we were always training and learning what we could do to help everybody and help ourselves.
So what was your position, and what did you end up doing?
I wound up being a dismount for pretty much the first 7 months of deployment, and then I was a gunner. Now, when people hear dismount, what happens is 5 of us would be on one side, another 5 would be on the other side of the road. Alpha and Bravo teams, I carried the saw. Sometimes I'd have an M14, and we would walk for miles looking for tripwires and stuff and going through the Taliban's backyard and so forth.
I'm sorry, Chris, I forgot to ask you, what part of Afghanistan did you end up in?
So the first part, we stayed in Ghazni province for about the first 3 months, and then they moved us to Paktia province in a little cop called Zormat.
And you guys did route clearance both areas?
Yes, sir.
What was your experience like in Afghanistan doing route clearance?
It was, I guess I could say the best word is unique. You hear all these horror stories, and people asking, how do you know when you're getting shot at, to everything, to seeing people get blown up. It was definitely unique. It made me appreciate everything in life a whole bunch more. This is going to sound kind of twisted, but it was fun too also. And there was a lot of times where it was kind of scary in a way too. So,
did you guys have a lot of success finding IEDs?
Yes, we all but 2 we found the good way. Both the 2 times that we didn't find them the good way, nobody got seriously injured or anything like that, but we found actually a lot of them dismounted. We found a few with the one machine that they have, the Husky, but good a bit of them were found dismounted.
Anything that you feel like you want to talk about that happens that significant on that deployment?
Yeah, so one little story that I had a hard time dealing with not really during deployment, but on our downtime, and then we got back. So when you're deployed, you don't really have anything to look forward to besides hanging out and leave. Really don't eat that much good food and so forth. So the one good thing that there was on deployment was a place called Green Beans. Now, Green Beans is like your Starbucks and your Dunkin' Donuts in the USA. So we always used to look forward to going to that. So it was the day after Christmas. It was December 26th, and we were joking around, and we were in a spot that we always used to get shot at a lot and screwed with, and it's a place called McCore. And we were joking around, and we're like, hey, I bet you at 11:25 we're going to get into a tick, or I bet you at 10:45 we're going to get into a tick. And I was like, I knew we were, and I was just like, no, we're not. And they're like, all right, loser buys Green Beans. So we're going through, and we're just joking around, laughing, because you're walking, and you can joke around and walk around and tell stories and bust each other's chops. And we're like, I want to say probably about 700 meters in front of the convoy, and we're right out in the open. And probably about 200 meters, it felt like, to our right, there was 2 Kalat buildings, and then all of a sudden, bullets just started erupting from our left side, and I'm pretty sure our right side. And we just started running, and what happened was we ran into this alleyway, and we were trying to get our bearings to figure out who was shooting at us, where was shooting at us, and our one sergeant was like, I'm pretty sure we're getting shot from the roof and in front of us. So I was pulling security right behind my sergeant as we were looking to the left as we were walking, but straight ahead. Then the one sergeant was looking behind us, and then the other kid was looking straight, and then my one friend was just kind of like looking around, not really sure, and I kept on saying, hey, somebody's got to pull security on the roof. And then all of a sudden, finally, as he did, a bullet like just whizzed right past my head, and I just heard him start screaming. So then we just started laying suppressive fire, and we drug him back into the back of the Colot building, and he got shot right in the arm. And I was like, holy, you couldn't believe one of your own got shot. And they're working on them, and, I had a Garmin watch on, so did my sergeant, and we were getting ready to send the 9 line. And then all of a sudden, the building that we thought we were getting shot at, somebody comes out of, and I'm pulling security 12 o'clock, and then my buddy's pulling security from like the 12 to the 3 o'clock, so we have intersecting fires, and all of a sudden, a guy keeps on walking towards me, and I kept on yelling, stop, stop, stop. And he wouldn't, and then finally the 2 sergeants were like, shoot him. So I shot him, and he dropped right there. And then we had to wait, like it felt like an eternity, but it was probably like 15 minutes before the convoy came up because they still had to clear the route, and the Bravo team came across and helped us. And then, so pretty much I'm standing there, just pulling security, staring at this dead guy, just bleeding out, and I tell everybody, I used to make jokes like, hey, I'm going to shoot a bunch of people and, so forth. But to actually have done it and to take someone's other life, it was surreal, and it was tough after everything would die down because you had too much to focus on. But it was like I was in shock afterwards.
So this guy came out of the building that you just got shot from?
Yes.
And he was walking toward you guys?
Yes. He was probably like 20 to 25 meters when I was told to shoot him because he wasn't listening. And I mean, when you have a gun pointed at somebody and people are yelling at you, you think you would stop.
Did you guys go out and search him?
We were told not to. They had the ANP or the Afghan National Police and the Afghan National Army take care of that. And going through my head as we had to continue mission, and I'm walking by him, I'm like, great, now I'm going to go to jail because you hear all those horror stories. I didn't know what was going to happen now and everything. So, but unfortunately, you can't think about this. You still had a mission to do, and we still had about another 5 to 10 clicks of route we had to clear to get to our next spot.
What did Buddy turn out?
He was fine. He had like what we like to call like the $1 million wound. He got hit right below his tricep, right in and right out, and it was fine. No broken bones, nothing. He returned on mission probably in about a week, not even.
So you never found out if this guy had a vest on him or anything, huh?
No, they never told us or anything, and they told us not to search him or anything.
So that kind of. So when you're doing all this stuff, and you're probably what, 26 at this point, maybe?
Absolutely, yes.
What do you?
No, 27. I was 27. My birthday's this December, so I just turned 27.
So what are you thinking at this point? What's going through your head at that age? And are you like, what did I get myself into?
It wasn't really that, but the fact. The fact that people joke around like, hey, I'm going to shoot people and stuff like that. The fact of that you actually did it was just more of like, oh my God. Now, I wasn't mad that I didn't. I wasn't like, what's the word that I'm looking for? I wasn't upset with myself or anything. It was just like, I couldn't believe that I was granted or put in that position. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel bad for doing it because of that was what they trained us. It's like being a cop. You have a split second to decide whether you're going to live or if you're not going to go home. And I don't know to this day if he had a vest on him, a grenade. I don't know. I think it would have made things a little bit easier to swallow everything and to understand and to process everything if we found out. But
so did anything else significant happen after that?
No, I had a hard time. Well, yes, we got a couple of MRAPs that blown up. The other platoon got into a firefight that was pretty bad, and the lieutenant got hit with shrapnel real bad and was flown out, and they weren't sure what was going to happen with him. We got into more ticks. I seen another sergeant get shot in the leg. It was pretty interesting deployment. On base where we were, or the little cop, we were getting incoming all the time. It was, seeing bombs blow up right next to us was crazy. It was very, we got our money's worth of deployment, I'll tell you that.
So how did you, when did you start basically dealing with the incident that happened with you? Did that happen during the deployment, or did it start to kind of seep out and decompress once you were back in the States?
It happened during the whole deployment. I remember that night when we got back to the place where we were going. I couldn't sleep. I kept on seeing the picture of the guy, and you really don't have time to process things during deployment. You don't have that much downtime, and it really started to sink in and mess with my head when we got back stateside. But any little bit of downtime, it would kick in. And the dreams and that would definitely experience them during deployment and stuff like that. But the majority of it was once you get back, because you have that downtime. How did you get help with this, or did you try just gutting through it and driving on? So I did both. I promised everybody, my family-wise, when I came back, regardless of what would happen, I would go see somebody. I had a buddy that was in the military that came back, that deployed, and he was a little rough, and he wouldn't get help, and he would drink a little bit too much at times, and he turned himself around. So my problem that I had was finding a counselor that fit me. So I kept on going through counselors up at Drum, trying to find one that would fit me, and then my biggest thing was I couldn't sleep, and I wasn't a fan of taking medicine, and I felt like that's all the military wanted to do. So there, for a while, I was on a bad little streak of drinking to, get a little buzz on and put myself to pass out so I could get some sleep. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think you're the only one that does that. No, not at all. Not at all. It's the way. So you got back from that deployment, and what happened? So I was angry. I was just angry, and a lot of things that happened during the deployment were starting to come out. A lot of people would start to aggravate me. I had no patience before I went in the military. I had patience when I graduated boot camp, and then after I came back from deployment, I had no patience again. And I was always on edge and stuff like that. And the military, like I said, wanted to give me medicine, and I wouldn't take it. I would flush it down the toilet. I just wasn't a big believer in pills and stuff like that. And I don't know what happened one day. I think I just stopped drinking because I was just fed up with it. And I found a counselor at Drum that was actually pretty cool, because I finally said, do you have somebody that deployed, that understands what we've gone through? Because in my eyes, if you haven't deployed, you can read and say you know what it's like, but you have no idea what it's like to run at while bullets are whipping past you, or to be in a situation where you have to shoot somebody. And it was hard for me to talk to people that haven't deployed. Yeah, I understand completely. I really do. It's difficult to try to tell somebody and get them to understand what it's like to know that you're going to go out on patrol and somebody in that patrol is probably going to get hit. Yeah, it was tough, but like I said, I found a good counselor at Drum, and he helped me, through the tough time, and I still talk to him until I got out, and then. When I got out, that was a whole nother story. So you did, how many years did you do in the military then, in the Army? I did 4 years active and 2 years in the reserves. Okay. And you decided that you had enough? Yeah, I I did not like the reserves. It just wasn't for me, and I couldn't make it work, and I tried, but I just couldn't.
So let me ask you, Chris, why did you leave the active component, though?
So to rewind a little bit, if you don't mind.
I do not mind.
My dad was a New York City sanitation officer, and growing up, we weren't rich by any means, but I always had food on the table and everything, and I always remember asking my mom, like, what does Dad do and stuff and so forth, and he's like, oh, he's civil service employee, good benefits, so forth and everything, and I was like, all right, so fast forward to high school, me and a buddy wanted to be cops. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a cop. Senior year, my dad takes me on vacation, me, my dad, my brother, my sister, down the Long Beach Island in New Jersey, and his buddy's wife, his brother, happened to be there, and he was a fireman, and he was like, oh, you should be a fireman. I'm like, no, I want to be a cop, and my dad's like, if I wasn't scared of fire and heights, that's the job you want. So he kind of filled out the form for me to sign up for the test, because I was all against about being a fireman, and I went down and took the test. I did really good on it, and he's like, you're probably going to get called, and I started volunteering, and I loved it. I fell in love with the whole fire department atmosphere and everything. So that was my goal in life after high school. I wanted to be a New York City fireman, and when I was deployed, they gave the test, and when I came back, I took it, and this time when I came back and they gave me my score was a 99.9, and my dad's like, you're definitely going to get called this time for sure. And they were really trying to get me to stay active duty, and I wanted to, and I didn't know how long it was going to take me to get hired by FDNY. I was going to extend for another 2 years and do a deployment, but I wasn't sure. And they were trying to get me to go to like Ranger School and stuff like that, throw schools at me. And I'm like, no, I'm going to follow my dream as a New York City fireman, and that's why I got out.
So were you able to achieve your dream?
I did, and
congratulations.
Thank you. It was a rough, long process to it that I didn't think was going to happen. And it did, and I've been on the job now for 3 years, and it was a dream come true. It's an amazing job. I love it.
So you are a New York City fireman?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it was. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a very emotional man or anything like that. My mom and my dad knew how bad I wanted it, and just to cut through all the long nonsense of the whole story to get there. When you're getting ready to get into the academy, what happens is they send you a letter. This letter says, hey, congratulations, you met all the requirements. Your last steps to run a 1.5 mile loop in this amount of time. If you pass it, you're in the New York City Fire Academy. So waiting, and then one day I got this weird email, called them, and they're like, yeah, you got to do the run. And I was like, are you serious? Like, really? I'm this close to it. So I went down, I did the run, and I remember afterwards they had a pacer behind you. If he passed before you, you didn't make it. But I burst into tears after I crossed the line, and I remember calling my mom and telling her I'm in the fire academy. So
what was the time, if you don't mind me asking?
For not running and only having 2 weeks, I think they give you 13 or 12 minutes. I think I did it in 11 minutes and 30 seconds or something. I was moving pretty good. You know, it's everything I wanted to be since 2002. So I wasn't. If it's anything the military taught you, you don't ever give up, and you always find a way. So I didn't care if I broke my ankle. I was still going for it.
So you were still cruising in at under an 8-minute pace at that point, huh? That's pretty good.
Yes. Yeah, and the sad part was I stopped working out because of depression and everything, and I had 2 weeks, so I started running up and down hills and just, running, and it paid off. So.
Well, how you doing now?
Doing good now for the most part. I still have my moments and everything, but occasionally I talk to a couple people from the VA, but it was rough when I first got back, but still starting to taper off. I still have my moments though.
And when did you get out? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. What year did you get out of the active duty?
2014. I took convalescent leave, and I was out of the Army right by Valentine's Day, I remember. So.
And then you did 2 years reserve, so you were essentially out at what, 2018 then?
Yes.
Not that long ago. Man, okay. Well, so question I always ask everybody, if there's any advice you could give somebody that's getting out, been through some stuff like you've been through, what would it be?
Well, two big things. Well, one, you're not alone, and go get help. Everyone thinks it's a sign of weakness, and that's my biggest thing. I was stubborn. Find a counselor that fits you. Even with the VA, I went through 5, 6 counselors. You got to find a counselor that fits you, and once you find that, as long as you stay talking to them routinely, you'll be good to go for the most part. And second thing, the VA is there. People underestimate everything that the VA has to offer. I went through some certain things with the VA that I never knew existed until I found the right counselor. Cognitive therapy, I never knew that existed, and that changed my life pretty much right around by taking that.
Well, I'm very happy, man. I'm very happy I got to meet you and hear your story, and I honestly believe that this story is going to help a lot of people out. I have your number. You have my number. If you ever need anything, having a bad day, good day, just want to shoot the crap, you can always call me or text me, and I mean that.
I appreciate it. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
All right, Chris, my friend. Thank you for taking your time with us.
Hey, anytime. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening to this episode. Getting the message out about suicide prevention is a team effort. We need people to be brave enough to tell their stories. We need supporters to care enough to spread the word. If you have a story you want to share, please email us at survivingasacivilian.casting@gmail.com. And if you want to help share this project, like and subscribe to Surviving as a Civilian on Instagram and Facebook. The most important thing Andrew and I want to get across is that if you need help, get help. And if you can give help, please do it. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is at 1-800-273-8255. Until next time.